What's up, team? Welcome back to the Huddle. We're your weekly playbook to help you gain forward progress in your flooring career. For our new viewers, welcome to the team. Today, I am joined with a blank screen and hopefully Jose Gonzalez. Daniel is out on a job site and hopefully he can join us as well. We're talking about managing your time and resources for installation. This has been, um, one of the key factors, I think, in a lot of different installer success and the best installer subcontracting crews that we have here are really, really good at this. Across the industry, I know that one of the things that comes from Go Carrera's clients is the desire for the crew leader to be able to manage his time and resources, including the employees that he has, to best serve the overall customer, which is whoever we're all doing the project for. So, Mr. Jose, are you around, my man?
I am. Can you guys hear me at all?
I can I can hear you wonderfully. I can't see you.
Yeah, just I think my camera just wants to malfunction today. I've already reset my computer like 3 times. I
All
couldn't get
right.
it to turn on. So, but if you can hear me, that's fine. I don't have a face for TV anyway.
I was hoping I could throw a avatar of your face on the screen, but I can't. So we'll live with your name and the blank screen, knowing that you're in the background listening. So happy election day, everybody! I hope
Yep,
everybody
yep.
got out and voted and voiced their casted their vote and voiced their support for whichever candidate you guys are going for, and your any local elections going on as well. I got my voted voting done earlier, so should be hopefully a um, a smooth evening. But I don't know. I'm a bit concerned that either direction it's going to be a little bit crazy. So
Yeah,
um,
I don't think it matters. You're right. Either way, this election
yeah,
has put so many people against one another.
Jose, would it be possible for you to join from your phone? I
Oh yeah,
wonder,
yeah. Let me try to
just
do that.
for that might be better than having a blank screen.
Yep. All right. I'm gonna disconnect here and I'll join it on my phone.
Okay. Well, right now you guys got me. We're trying to get Jose geared back in, and Daniel's out on a job site. So today, again, we're going to be talking about managing your time and resources on installation. So get active in the chat and let me know what you guys' secrets are out there. As I said early on, um, our best crews um, are the ones who manage their time and resources the best, and there's no better way to do that than having floor cloud on your project. So when you are wondering if the job site's ready for you, or the company that you may be working for, or maybe you yourself have floor cloud, you can know what the job site conditions are ahead of time. So right now, while we're waiting on Jose, let's discover how Floor Cloud can transport your project site conditions right to your fingertips. You can increase both profitability and efficiency with Floor Cloud. Let's let's take a watch of the Floor Cloud video here. Enables real-time monitoring of your job site conditions via desktop or mobile device. No more manual checking for temperature, humidity, or even dew point. No need for base stations, Wi-Fi, or external power sources. Simply scan the QR code on the front of your sensors and you're up and running with the most accurate and innovative site monitoring system in the flooring industry. Dispatch your crews with confidence and reduce your climate-related installation issues. Floor Cloud, now you know. Yeah, another thing I'll tell you about Floor Cloud that's really pretty cool is if you load up into Floor Cloud whatever products you're installing, it'll give you alerts when the site conditions do not match that particular product. As we all know, there's different flooring products that have different site condition requirements, and having Floor Cloud on there with your products loaded in will give you the alert if the site condition is out of spec for that particular product. So it's a really big time saver. Like us, a lot of our projects are hours away, and being able to get the site conditions from 4 hours away and not have to send somebody out is a real game changer. And if you connect your Wagner moisture meters to the device, then you can even get your moisture readings from there. So Jose has joined us. What's up? I love the shirt, brother.
Oh yeah, represent all day.
Well,
Well,
it's
I made it.
election day, and we are here talking about maximizing our time and resources on installations. One of the things I talked about while you were not on was how much we appreciate the crews that really, manage their employees, manage their tools. They always seem to have what is needed for the job. Now, Go Career helps with that because they know ahead of time what the job requirements are. They don't come into the shop that morning and get their work order and find out what they're doing. They've known for quite some time what the requirements of that job is. So there's Mr. Daniel. Looks like he's in a van.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me guy? All right.
All right.
We
Yeah,
used
we can
to,
hear you great. And it's perfect timing for you to be in this situation because we're talking
yeah.
about managing time and resources on our installations. And I was just telling Jose how for us, the crews, when we get slow, we're in a little bit of a slower time right now. But when we get slow, it's those crews that really do good at this that always stay busy with us. They never seem to have a slow time, even though we do. They never recognize it because it's the crews that are less um, capable in this arena because we want, you know, the guys who manage their crews and their employees and their equipment correctly. They always just seem to, like I said, have the right tools on the truck and
Yeah.
able to get to the job site in a timely manner and take care of the project. So
It's funny because I just had a conversation with a custom builder today this about this subject. He was like, "Man, you're making my life so easy right now, and I really appreciate it. And I look forward to doing more work with you." And I was like, "Whoa, buddy! Like we're just getting started, man. Don't be putting that on me yet." And he just started laughing, and then he just asked a bunch of questions, and I said, "Look, it's been my experience that I am starting labor only than doing what we're doing now. I've experienced more success and built better relationships by taking stuff off of someone else's plate, absorbing it, handling it, and then just reporting back. If I make their job easier, they appreciate me more. When they appreciate you more, you get more steady workflow on the installation side. And that was the conversation in a nutshell. And he just appreciated the communication as well.
yeah, I think communication is part of that. What is your Daniel, you've been out and about and working out in the field, but you guys also sub work when you need to. What's kind of the key um, takeaways from for you guys that you can share that really allow you to, have that comfortability level when you're working with subcontractors?
Uh, Essentially just babysitting them a little bit at first, making sure, and it is just telling them, hey, we need more communication. Hey, we need pictures every day.
Yeah. So do you guys when you're talking when a sub is or when a crew, I'll just say a crew, when a crew is showing up to your job site, managing their people, their installers or their employees, how important is that?
Oh, that's super important, dude. Like the last thing you want to do is, regardless if it's your in-house crew or a a trade contractor that you hired to help out, the last thing you want to do is go in and start micromanaging their responsibilities, or even if that's what you're used to doing, you don't want to be that guy that goes in there and tries to micromanage somebody else's company. As much as we could appreciate someone who takes care of everything and makes life easier, I'm sure they could appreciate. And when I say they, I refer to us back in the day too. Is we can appreciate someone who isn't micromanaging what we're doing either. It's a trust. You got to trust the whole process, right? I trust everybody and everything until I have a reason not to.
That's a good point. A lot of crews, they really need you to give them that leeway to operate the job. I mean, legally, you have to give them that leeway to
Hmm.
operate the job and do their job. But the ones that really tend to have all the questions, like there's a lot of guys that they'll get a work order from us, and then when they have questions, we'll still have a face-to-face meeting on site prior to the installation starting to make sure that layouts are all talked through, any floor prep stuff, anything that's got to do with that job. And we super appreciate when a work order is accepted by somebody, but they don't have all the information, that they reach out to us and ask us. A lot of times we try to do that and make sure that, our managers are responsible for providing good information. But sometimes it takes that installer's eye looking at the job and like, hey, but what about this? Oh, hey, I noticed that the LVT is 5 millimeter and your sheet vinyl's 3. Are we putting a
Yeah,
transition there? Are we leveling it up? Those kinds of questions, man, that's managing that information. That's part of managing the job as a crew leader, as an installer.
I
and some
think
of
that
those,
goes back to the crews too, because we've always been the ones that are like, we need this information like time, so that way we know how to plan and be efficient at the project. When the reality is that a lot of guys tell us even today that they just show up and then get a work order and they're surprised with whatever they're doing that day, which is not how things should be ran.
Yeah, I was commenting earlier. I think you may have been on, Daniel, that that's one of the things we really appreciate when we use Go Career is the fact that our guys, typically we publish the work order and it's accepted weeks, at least days ahead of time, and gives them a chance to check up, look at the drawings, look at the documents, any installation instructions we put on there, and really let they reach out to us and ask us those questions. And that's ideal, is to get all those questions answered ahead of time. Make sure that everybody's comfortable with the project scope. Another key thing is knowledge, knowing that, I know that when we talk about managing resources and time, but knowledge of how construction works, and knowledge about, hey, they get in there and they notice, different trades in the way or what have you. um, that can be a real pain in the old rear end for both the installation crew as well as the company that's the flooring company. And sometimes, obviously, the installation crew is the flooring company. Um, but neither direction, like having that knowledge of what um, sequence of construction should be.
yes,
You know what I mean? You go in, you got lights, but you don't have any HVAC on. If you don't have floor cloud on your job and you don't know that, well, the installer had better know that and report that back to you so that, they're not installing outside site conditions. What's up, Jorge? Thanks for joining, brother.
yeah, and then some of the knowledge of the process in construction period. The experience, it comes over with time. But then you can also get some literature together, and you can kind of set expectations when you're discussing a project. You can ask some of those questions and be proactive, or list it in um, your proposal, your quote, however your relationship is with whomever you work with. Like we, as when we were labor only, we still had our own set of terms that we submitted with labor numbers, and in those set of terms, depending on what we were installing, had specific. They weren't requests, right? We weren't being demanding either. We were
You almost have to be in some cases, though.
they were necessary. They were necessary items. So I don't want to say they were requests that and we weren't being pushy, but they were definitely necessary um, for that project or for that specific material in order for it to perform properly and for us to install it properly.
Yeah, yeah. Another key point that I made in the past when I was installing, I was I was fast, but I wasn't fast because I could spread glue faster than the other guy, or because I could cut in faster because I knew how to, pattern scribe faster. You know what I mean? It was
Yep.
because I set the job up in a way that allowed me to go from step to step to step in a very efficient manner. And you are the one in control of that as the guy on site.
Yep.
You're setting up things, talking to other trades is another key point. Having a good relationship. If anybody's on here that does commercial projects, I mean residential as well, especially new builds, but commercial, it's imperative that you get to know the other trades. If you work in the same kind of municipality all the time, you kind of get to know the guys anyway because you're always on job sites with them. But getting to know the other trades and being able to work with them a little bit because the GCs these days I think they expect more of that than they ever have. They want you to kind of coordinate with the other trades, and it's super effective for you to get what you need to be a highly efficient and thus profitable installer.
And the generals are also trying to keep certain groups together. Once they find a group of people that communicate well with one another, work well with one another, and they, like you said, those relationships are created.
Yeah.
That creates a synergy on the job site. If you're working with, the same drywalling company, the same electricians, the same HVAC, like you get used to working with guys, you know what to expect out of their crew. You know that
And
Bob
the
is going
GC
to get,
knows how to communicate
yeah,
together, and they're more likely to use you even if you're not the low guy
and they
uh,
make more hands
in
off.
certain
There's a hands off
circumstances.
approach. Yeah, and
Well, just like you
you,
said earlier, your customer, you make their life easier. If you
yes,
can make your client's life easier, you're gonna be successful, no matter what level in this flooring. Whether you provide and sell flooring and installation, or if you're just a flooring installer, or you're just a sales of materials. I mean, either way, no matter where you're at in the sequence of that process, the fact is if you make your client's life more, just simpler. I mean, we've lost jobs because I've had managers in the past where I'd get a call from the GC and he's like, "Hey, man, I like you, but your manager's making my life hell. He makes everything's an argument. That guy's no longer with us,
right.
but that's the truth."
And I think everybody goes through that. Depending on personality, everybody goes through that stage, right? Where as a floor guy, you need the floor to do the floor, and everybody always seems to want to be in the area that you're working when you're trying to be the most productive you could be.
Well, we
And
take up a bunch of space.
yeah, we do. We command real estate on the project, and unfortunately, it's the way it has to be for us to get certain things done. But there is certain materials we can work with where we can part it out without putting us in a bad spot. But at the same time, that shouldn't be the expectation. And I think the frustration kicks in, and I know it has kicked in with me when it's a repetitive question. Hey, can you only do this much today? Can you only do this much today? Right? Like I can do 1,000 square feet in the same amount of time it takes me to do 700 square feet, except for the reward is a lot different. Like
Hmm.
I want to make more. If every day
Well, and you
I'm
want to make
forfeiting.
their job get done. You want to get
Yeah,
the project completed too. So it's not just about you. I mean, it's a benefit to everybody involved if you can get in and get the project done. The faster you can turn it over, the better.
Faster
Most
we can
times,
get paid.
and then we
yeah,
can get that money.
And
yeah.
then
But
once you like working with other trades, majority like a lot. Like I was on a project yesterday where the electrician just called me and he's like, "Hey, where are you guys going to be at?" So that way, my guy, I know where my guy, I can put my guys. And it's like that's the kind of relationships you have to build like long term. So that way, you just skip the middleman and just communicate with each other.
yeah,
And that's honestly communication we talk about a lot on the huddle is how important communication is, and building a relationship is part of communicating. You know what I mean? Like you got to take step one first, and that's communicate, and then you can build that relationship with each other. I think
you're
we
on another level when you can look across the room at somebody else and just do a couple of nods, shrug your shoulders, and you guys are on the same page, and you both give each other the thumbs up and just go to work. Like
yeah,
that's the kind of work relationship I want to have. Those are good ones.
that's when the beauty happens, when the magic happens. I think another part of managing your resources, you can't, we just got to the money, and that's the next part is managing that part. Um, Managing your money and resources. And one of the other things I would say about a lot of the good subs is they invest in themselves, not just in training and education, which we talk about a lot, but also in their equipment and their tools and their vehicle and vehicles. Sometimes,
Yeah,
some of our subs are a little bit bigger and they have several vehicles that are all wrapped in their name, and they look very professional, and they invest or manage that resource. Maybe your number one resource at the end of a job is the money you make, and managing that. um, it can be tricky. I know for a fact, through experience, that it's one of the toughest things to do is manage that resource. But reinvesting back into yourself, back into your company, back into your employees, back into your equipment, and making yourself that much more um, valuable, but also efficient.
yeah, efficient. That's what it is, right? Like, and some of the things that you mentioned too are are purchases that when you're not generating the revenue that you'd like to generate in order to invest in some of that you can't see the benefit. But I'll just give a flat out scenario, real life scenario, and how we got to a point where we're just like, we're just going to buy brand new vehicles. If we were buying used vehicles, dumping money into them, the amount of money that we were putting into our vehicles to maintain them on a monthly basis, on average, we could have probably bought a couple brand new vehicles at the end of a year or 2 years, if you look at it. And it was just like, but there's things that you got to build up to get to that point. But the money and the resource part, like you're right, that is kind of that dance that you have to find. You got to find your sweet spot on pricing. You got to find your sweet spot on production, on efficiency. You got to find all these sweet spots for it to look really good at the end of a quarter, or be acceptable at the end of a quarter. I mean, so some quarters don't look really good, but then the next quarter is when that overflow comes in, and like, oh, there it is, there it is. I thought I lost you, but no, you're there. You're there. I see you.
Yeah.
And understanding some of that too.
Well, a lot of people think just charging more, charging what you're worth. Well, first off, you have to really know what you're worth, and that can be subjective. But efficiency is a surefire way. Quality, like understanding, being educated in the flooring that you're doing, and then being efficient at that product. or those products, that series of products. That is where, from an installer standpoint, when I installed on a daily basis, that's where I made the most money, was understanding the processes, the sequences on the job site, as well as knowing what I was doing, Um, I didn't always know what I was doing, and so I had a good comparison. For a while it wasn't as profitable. I mean, the bottom line is you buy a new piece of equipment that makes you that you know how to use well, that increases your efficiency, increases your profit. You can get a job that would have taken you 2 days to do, you can get it done in a day. And demo machines are a good
Oh,
example of that. They're a
that's
lifesaver.
a prime example.
We got a big tile demo coming up, and I'll tell you what, like, it would have taken days on days on days to remove 3,000 feet of tile. We're going to probably get that done in a day and a half. And it would have taken a week or more. Who knew? Who knows? And how
Yep.
many other pieces of equipment and that we would have needed on job site. Now we'll just have one chip and hammer and the main demo machine, and some shovels and wheelbarrows, and knock it out of the park.
Yeah, the demo machines are workhorses that until you get one and you utilize it, you don't really understand what you've been missing as far as getting your time back on a project. Unless you find someone with one and you hire it out, and you do understand. It's one of those investments that are hard to pull the trigger at first, but once you do, you're like,
Yeah.
man, I'm so dumb. I should have did this years ago. It's
Just
like, what
look
were
at
we
the
thinking?
YMCA project we're on right now. Like if we didn't have the ride on machines, like all of our guys probably would have quit on us.
Yeah,
We
and
Look, Chuck
that's a
laughing
great
right here.
that's a great
It's true
example
though,
right
isn't
there,
it?
because
yeah,
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 I mean, that's a good point to bring up as well, is like the wear and tear that you save on other people's, on your employees' bodies or your own body from using equipment. Do you guys have an automatic welder?
Yes, sir.
yes.
You invest. How is that for you guys?
On some of the
So
projects that we have that have a lot of seams, it works out great. But
yeah,
majority of the time,
Yeah,
it's
big long runs, obviously.
yeah.
well, even
I
like
think
doing
go
Nora,
ahead.
right? Because it's only 4 foot, and if you got one room with like 15 seams
Drops.
in it, it's already worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the length of the seam, right? Like trying to stay like say you only have two seams, but they're 120 foot, and then you have five cross seams or five head seams to do, right? The head seams are fine, but you go do them long seams at 100 and something, 100 plus feet. I could tell you what, like staying consistent through that whole thing and the same pitch, the same speed, all by hand, is it impossible? No. After that one seam, I tell you, you're taking a break, you're doing all of this, and then you're going to go and do a pass, and then it's like, oh, got to retouch that, got to retouch that, got to get.
That's why I brought it up, is a lot of the crews that do our Terraflex in like our athletic, multi-purpose rooms and stuff, they use automatic welders, because not necessarily is it that much faster, really. Um, the but you just save your body.
The
At the end of the
consistency,
day,
though.
an 8-hour day of welding, um, man, the consistency and the wear and tear on the guy
Hmm.
it's night and day.
Yeah, so you're talking about Terraflex, right? And all the sports floor, they have that super high sheen finish, or the finish that will, it's very finicky. It's gonna burn if you're just tilted
Yeah,
the wrong way. Yeah, the consistency you can create with the right robot, you put it. It's not a set it and forget it. Like we make jokes about, just turn it on, turn the light off, walk away, come back, right? Like with Self Leveler and the robots, it just does it itself. I just set it in the room, I come back and everything's welded. We
yeah.
used to make jokes like that, but it's just it just looks perfect when you're done. Like if you do everything right and you're prepping and taking the time and you invest in the right the right accessories to go with that tool, man, it's just you don't have to go back. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real game changer when you find those little pieces of tools and going the opposite direction from a automatic welder. In fact, I bought four of them. The small welders with
Yes.
the 90-degree. Oh my goodness! When you're doing a
It-
ton of cove seams,
oh yeah.
inside, outside corners, those just having the smaller welder in your hand, it's amazing the difference that it makes. And it's a smaller tool and it actually welds a little slower, but it's so much more favorable to yeah, to doing it
You don't have to
and
rush.
not wearing yourself out. Yeah.
Well, this one right
Did you get
here,
the turbo tools?
Yeah.
this one right here was a gift from Ray. It's a butane, it's a butane welder. I don't know how efficient it is. The idea is cool, but just to have one that's this small, and portable. Say I don't have no power. Say something happened. I got a little repair to do.
Yeah.
I'm still calling
Or
Daniel
or
to do it.
or you do have power, but the doggone closest outlet's 100 foot away and you ain't got a 100-foot cord.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those types of things. So, we got tools, education, and know-how, tools and equipment, employees. We talked about, managing their time and resources because they're going to go where you tell them to go and how, kind of follow your guidelines. So, what other resources? Because we talked about money, and I think at the end of the day, we're all doing this to make an income, to make a living, and at the end of the day, when you have that resource, spending it wisely. I'm no tax accountant. I don't want to act like I'm a business coach or anything like that, but I'll tell you, taking care of your taxes as an installer and taking care of your employees, making sure that everybody's paid and that your taxes are covered. Those are very important things that anybody on here watching, don't skip that over. A lot of
Right.
installers, I know many good installers have gotten caught up on that, not
If I told
managing
you I
that
wasn't guilty of
resource.
that back in the day, I'd be lying, right? So that I think that's a matter of approaching your finances with responsibility, right? Like understand what should be priority or what is priority, because even though you put it as something like that on the back burner and it seems okay, right, in the long run, because remember the government can go back a lot further than you can. So you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you owe back taxes and then penalties and then late fees and then interest, right? Like
Yeah.
it's all gonna it's all gonna build
Yeah.
up.
So take care of that resource. Lastly, and this, you know, the we hit on so much of this stuff that it's why this is a very efficient podcast. But your time. So one of the things that I got into doing was Chet Holmes International, which was a business coach I followed in when I first got into business. But he talked really heavily about having a to-do list, but it was called a D6, and I still do it today. And I write down, I have a master list, and I write down the six most important things I need to do that day, at the office, and that's what keeps me reminded what I need to be doing next. Because whether you're out in the field or your D6 might look a little bit different, but just realizing the most important things, and don't forget family and all that.
And yeah, you're right. So I didn't take any classes like that, and but I do have lists upon lists, and I do have big lists that filter down through smaller lists to help me manage my task at a glance. Now, I might not be as good as you or Daniel at taking care of that and knocking that out because I do get distracted rather easily, right? Like as soon as I get a phone call about an issue or a phone call about something, I do tend to get a little sidetracked with that, and try to fit some of that information in before I lose it. Um, but fortunately for me, I have my computer. So we have a Teams that we use, Microsoft Teams, and then I just got good old fashioned, little notepads, um, for my daily tasks and reminders and items like
It's one
that.
of the
And
things install wise that I didn't do very often or very well, but
oh,
just
really? Oh,
remembering, hey, I've got to touch up this or touch up that. Once you kind of start doing that, then you don't forget these things. And when you're in that part of the school, for example, and you got some base that you need to finish up or some, it's just these things that you forget
yeah.
about on job sites. And of course, I'm very skewed commercially because as you can tell in the background, we're a commercial flooring company. Um, but it works no matter what you're doing, remembering that, there's been several times, I'm sure you guys have experienced this on job sites where the mill work or the case work was not in yet. Everything else is done in the room. All the
To go
base is
back and
done,
base it.
and you got to
Yeah.
go back and base the casework. Well, remembering to do that when you're on that wing of that job and being efficient with that just comes from managing your time well. And those it's those types of things that I appreciate about really good installers, good subs that we have, and it's also what I wish I would have been better at when I was installing.
And to when I was installing full time before preferred flooring, I did make it a habit of I carried a journal, like those old journals, the composition notebooks.
Hmm.
I carried those around all the time, and like I wrote down what I did every day. I was never asked to do that. I did it for me, for my record, so that way I could learn. Um, so I could learn my. I wanted to know where I was not efficient at is what it was, and I wanted to compare, my February to my November if I'm working with the same material out to see if I was progressing, if I was getting better. So that's why I did that. Not only
Well,
that, is I like to track what I was doing.
Walter makes a comment here about quality control, including punch lists, and that's what I'm talking about. Like and sometimes it's not real punch list items. It's like the example I gave
Yeah,
earlier is not really a punch list. I didn't. It's not a faulty install. It's just something you got to get back and do. But yeah, writing those things down. Tile guys. One of our tile guys that is really good. Like he'll when he writes up his own punch list, he's in effect reminding himself, hey, when I go to mix another, especially with epoxy grout, when I go to mix another unit of epoxy grout, I got a couple of voids over in this room over here, and he
yeah,
knows that. You know what I mean? It's not like you leave the job and that becomes a punch list item. He just takes care of it because he remembers to write it down and to follow up and do that. And it's like that is
We'll unload in the
huge
morning.
when you start talking
Well,
about
man,
being
here,
efficient
so
on
I can
jobs.
unload it and just again.
Just
yeah.
getting to the shop.
We heard Chuck, so we just wanted to hear what he had to say. We thought he,
Oh,
We're trying to eavesdrop.
yeah, yeah. Um, you're right about that. That's one of those. That's one of those things where if some people just have it like that, they just understand. They know their limitations, and they understand that they need to write it down as a reminder, and then it becomes habit. And once it becomes
Well,
habit,
just as better. Free up that headspace
yeah,
to work on doing what you're
yeah,
doing, and you just go back and it's written down, and you can go back and this goes epoxy grout was the example I gave earlier, but it
it
doesn't
goes
matter.
deeper
You
than
could have
that.
a seam that needs reworked on a heat weld or something like that, and it's best to do that when you're heat welding. And so, all these types of things, there sequences to it, and it's just about managing your time effectively. So, you'll end up being a master at it if you work at it. So that's what I would implore everybody to do.
It gets
Work on your
easier.
time management.
It gets a lot easier. And me being the person I am, my kids are 11, 8, and 7. They have notebooks. Do they use them yet? No, but they have them there, and I tell them, hey, write down what you did every day. When you remember, write down what you did today. Write down what you learned. I'm not asking you to keep a journal of your life and your feelings. Write down, hey, today I went to school. I did math. I broke my shoelace. You know what I
I
mean? Or
learned
something.
calculus.
Right. Just write down what you did, because I want it for them. I want it to be second nature to have a notebook and understand the importance of note taking.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. What you guys got? Anything else any words of wisdom as we close this episode of the Huddle Out?
Words of wisdom. You know what? I don't really have any words of wisdom, but I will say where I fall short on would be time management. So if you guys can find a way, or if you guys know ways of time management that is useful and kind of universal for everybody,
That D6 that Paul was talking about. Oh, now you
right?
can
Yeah,
hear me.
that could. Yeah, we can hear you. That would help out. And I wrote that down, and I've written that down like 3 or 4 times already when Paul has said it. I think it's just a
Yeah.
matter of putting it on the other notebook.
Yeah, I have a master. I have a master list of things that everything from looking at a budget for the company to buying a new piece of equipment to a bid that has to be done. I mean, it's all kinds of things that are on that master list, and I just transfer them. I look at that and I say, what's most important today, and that's what I try to
Look,
put, for that day. And
it's
it's not always perfect, but
it's covered with
Better
my
than nothing.
microphone stuff right now. But these are my lists that I work off of. There's my master that I use. It's nothing fancy, right? But then I also have a duplicate of that on the computer.
I like what Justin says here. He says, "Think ahead until you convince yourself that you're predicting the future." And Walter says, job notes that you were talking about taking was critical if there's a failure or a problem. So all that stuff you wrote
Hmm.
down, that's another good point.
And take pictures of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Back in
says,
the
if
day,
you're
we
ahead
didn't
of
have the.
schedule, do not take a break or a long lunch. Stay ahead.
What are breaks? People take
Yeah.
breaks still?
What does
It's
that
that
mean?
thing. It's that thing that your body does when you work too much.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you to everybody that's on live. If you catch us on YouTube, give us a like, a subscribe, a comment, thumbs up, thumbs down, as the
Thumbs up,
guys like
thumbs
to say,
down.
whichever direction. And
We like and
get
appreciate them
involved in
all.
the industry. Part of getting involved in the industry is, and this is maybe a little bit biased, is getting involved in the huddle. We'd like to go to conventions and things, and the stuff we learn from you guys is what we take back to powers to be a lot of times. And it's just part of what we want to know, what the struggles are out there in the community, in the installer community, and be able to pass those along. So we appreciate all of our fans. We appreciate all of the comments, and hopefully if you catch us on Facebook or any of our shorts, give us a little love, and we will reply to Nate. I usually eat every other day to save time. What? That's called fasting. So,
No, it's
all
like
right,
I
fellas.
already ate yesterday. Why do I need to eat today? It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
brother. Thank you.
all right, fellas. We'll catch you
All right.
guys next week, and
Thanks, everyone.
I hope you guys have a great evening, and we'll talk to you later.
See ya.
All right, bye.